In this video I will explain you how works analog multiplexer and demultiplexer based on a chip MC14051. Assume that we have three different photoresistors and we would like to read the data from them by using Arduino. One solution could be that we can read data with the three different ports. But in some situations it can make more sense to read only one single port to read this data. But we cannot read data from all sensors at once. We can do it only by reading one single port at a time. So for example, first second we can read one sensor, then another, and then the last one. In some situations we can have even much more sensors. It can be 8 sensors, it can be 20 and more. To do this switching we can use multiplexer. This chip contains 8 individual input-output ports from X0 to X7 and one common port. We can send data from individual port to common port. For example, from X1 to common and so on. On this schematic it will be the same, X0 to common. But we can send data only for one particular port at a time. So for example, it can be X0 or X1 or X2. So it cannot be, for example, two of these ports at the same time, like X2 and X1 sending data at the same time. To control the switching, we can use control pins A, B, C, and inhibit it's needed to stop data flow or continue, something like a pause button. For our particular example, to receive the data we will use port X0, X1 and X2. X0, X1 and X2. For sending data to Arduino we will use common port X, which is on a pin 3. To control data flow we need to use port A, then B and C. For using control pins we need to use this schema. So for data flow from this sensor through the individual port X0, this one, all three control pins supposed to be grounded. For data flow from this sensor through the individual port X1, which will be this one, port A supposed to be high, so it's this one, and the port B supposed to be low. For data flow from this sensor through the X2, so it will be this one, port B supposed to be high and port A supposed to be low. So this one is low, this one is high. There is additional control pin inhibit. As I said before, it is something like a pause button. When this pin is applied to high, then data flow through the chip is stopped. When it is applied to ground, then data through the chip can go. And here is Arduino sketch for your project. Power supply for this chip should be applied to pin 16, 5 volts, and the ground goes to pin 8. And don't forget that you still have 5 more pins for 5 additional sensors. This was logic for multiplexer. Now demultiplexer works in a completely same way but in opposite direction. Assume that our LEDs are some kind of devices which are expecting for binary data. So because this site is right now grounded and analog port is sending data, then we will send data first to this LED, then to this, and then to this. So main difference between multiplexing and demultiplexing that when we are multiplexing we are sending data from many different devices or sensors to one single port, and when we are demultiplexing then we are sending data from one single port to many different devices. Thanks for watching.